Hello, dear friends. Here we are at Cardiac Radio at 11 p.m. live with you, nourishing our souls together. We're studying the book Evolution into Worlds, a masterpiece that was written by the spirit author Andre Luiz, the same spirit author that wrote the books No Solar and Life Goes On, The Messengers, the missionaries of the light, workers of the life eternal, between heaven and earth, liberation, and here is this book, Evolution into Worlds. This book was psychographed in 1958, 60 years ago, in two different cities, Vila Leopoldo and Uberaba, in the state of Minas Gerais, Brazil. Two different mediums, Chico Xavier and Valdo Vieira. In 6 months, they compiled it all together and sent it to the Brazilian Spiritist Federation that actually published it 60 years ago. And we are delighted to share with you the 40 chapters of this book. This book contains two parts. First part, it's about the evolution of the spiritual body, the perispirit, 20 chapters. And the second part, life issues as a whole. Andre Luiz, in 20 chapters in the second part, reflects on several different issues that pertain our knowledge about ourselves and life. But why did this book come to life, right? Emmanuel wrote the preface, and he says, Andre Luiz is awakening us our feeling of immortality. You and I, in each chapter, are being called to reflect in our true essence, our immortal essence, my friends. Investing in immortal goals daily. We won't go wrong. And Andre Luiz, in the very, very preface, he says, let us study our multimillenary pilgrimage. We have been living time and again, and, drinking some water, Andre Luiz shows to us the beauty of our pilgrimage, igniting the fire of our hope. You have lived this far. Me too. Why quitting? We can't. Why escaping away? We can't. So what do? We ignite the fire of our hope, renew ourselves, as Mother Mary said to Chico Xavier, these too shall pass. And he passes. And one day we're going to understand more about God and ourselves. For now, let us feel the greatness of life as we enter a new chapter. Chapter 5, which is about how the spirits present themselves to mediums. Appearance of the discarnate spirits, how they present themselves. Shall we go? Are you ready? Welcome, friends. Let us join forces in this beautiful study today. Andre Luiz begins with a question. Chapter 5, Part 2. Presentation of the discarnate spirits or appearance of the discarnate spirits. He begins with a question. What principles govern the appearance of discarnate spirits to human mediums? So, how do they present themselves to spirits? Like this baby, he can see the grandfather, right? How do they choose the way they are going to present? Why does this matter, my friend? Because we're talking about our true body. Hmm? Think about you. Have you done the homework? Thinking about how you want to present yourself spiritual body wise. How do you want to present yourself? It depends on how you feel, the mental body. Huh? You feel young, you're going to show yourself as young. You feel joyful, rejuvenated. These are important questions for us. We're talking about our true appearance in the spiritual body. Okay? How do we present ourselves to others? Right? For example, Emmanuel. Emmanuel has lived many lives. And there is always this question, how did he present himself? In which way he presented himself when Chico Xavier saw him, etc. That's a good question, huh? Because he lived many lives. In which form did he present himself? Which clothes? Which appearance? So let's see what André Luiz has to reveal to us. Let us study together this part. He begins by saying, the aspect that the discarnate entities take on towards human mediums when communicating on Earth can vary infinitely. Well, the answer is not as straightforward as you could imagine. Huh? Like, oh no, no, well, yeah, because it means that it depends on the needs, the necessity, right? I'll give an example. If you go visit a friend, close friend, how are you going to dress up? Are you going to dress up as if you are going to a formal party? Are you going to dress up as if you're seeing a romantic partner? Are you going to dress up as if you are by yourself at home doing nothing but relaxing? Are you going to dress up in your PJs? No, right? It could be a possibility, but there are so many different reasons. André Luiz is teaching us that this, and I say this quote unquote, fashion of the spiritual realm follows some rules that we may know and new ones that we're going to get to know. So let us see which ones. First, we know that the presentation of the spirits to us mediums may vary to the infinite, but vary according to what? That's what we want to know. He has more to say. He says, given the natural command that higher spirits have over their own psychosomatic selves, they can adopt the appearance that they find to be the most useful, considering the meritorious work they propose to accomplish. Hmm? You all know, you all know of the understanding that higher spirits, they need to be identified sometimes, not always. High spirits, much higher spirits than you can imagine, can visit your spiritist tent or your home, and you may not notice because they don't have the vanity to say, I've been here, and they stamp on the wall. I've been here, here I am. Remember, I've come all the way from the higher colony to see you, and yet you don't listen to me. They don't do that, right? They may come and not leave a trace, quote unquote, that is consciously perceived by us. But there are times in which they want to be perceived, and they want to be perceived specifically in the way and form that is most significant to fulfill their task. And that's why Andre Luiz explains to us here that because they have good command over their perispiritual selves, they can adjust the way they present themselves according to the work to be fulfilled. That is most useful. Like, for example, you know that in Brazil, for example, we have what we call um, the African descendants, right? They used to be very spiritual. We call pretos velhos. And they may come to mediumistic meetings with all those traits. And we ask why. Because if they are really evolved, some of them really evolved, why do they need to show up with the accent and the traits and the tone of voice that is peculiar to them? There's a reason. Sometimes it's about the rescue work that is still related to slavery, in the spiritual realm. Sometimes we don't need it. Like, for example, Dr. Bezerra de Menezes, we all know that he doesn't restrict himself to spiritist circles. He has come to Lilydale many times, to mediumistic meetings where spiritualists and spiritists were doing together. We know that Dr. Bezerra de Menezes has come and comes to non-spiritist mediumistic circles in Brazil, for example, and not necessarily he stamps Dr. Bezerra de Menezes, I've been here today. He comes and they do the work, but sometimes they want to present themselves in that way to say, there's a reason why I've come here and want to share this message because it's related to this purpose of this work. Does it make sense? Yes, it does. It makes sense, right? So Andre Luiz continues by revealing to us that, however, this way of exchange is not the most common, since generally the discarnate spirits impress the incarnate mediumistic instruments in the form they actually find themselves. Usually, ordinarily speaking, the spirits will present in the form that they feel like. Mhm. The picture that you're seeing here is by the medium that is laying down Peixotin, which according to Chico Xavier was the most um, refined spiritist medium of physical manifestations. He was a medium of ectoplasmic materializations, as you can see here. The spirit materializing next to him and exemplifying to us that they can present themselves according to how they feel, how they see themselves. Okay? Natural. Time and again now, Emmanuel, André Luiz are hand in hand with the teachings that our minds dictate the mode of the spiritual body, the mental body. So now, the revelation of it all, that in our minds lie the secret of life. We need to learn how to think properly. Coach ourselves daily to the positive. I believe in the good. I believe in God. I believe in beauty. I believe in harmony. I believe in my divine nature. I believe in the divine nature of others. I believe in the true essence of the universe, the good. Forgive me. Okay? Rihanna is mentioning that the spirits sometimes come to me with their painted faces dancing to give a message to someone. It makes sense. It makes sense, especially where you are living, right, Rihanna? hmm Particular, in particular to the area where you're living in, right? It makes sense. Like, for example, as Rihanna is saying this, it reminds me of a day I was in Lilydale in 2000 and maybe 2007 or earlier than that, 2005. Lilydale, New York, the spiritualist city. And doing a mediumistic meeting with spiritualist friends, a group of Native American spirits were dancing around us, the Discarnates, and I saw them. So the chief of the group comes to me and starts speaking in his own language and saying that he wanted me to dance accordingly to show to some of the Canadian friends who were present, whom I didn't know, they were Canadians, that they had a message for them. And I said, I'm so sorry, but I'm not gonna dance. But I can deliver your message when we're done because that's the way I understand it's gonna be more beneficial to you. So feel free to keep dancing and to share your message, and I will relay it to them with words. And I respect and honor your practice. So when the meeting was done, I shared it with them. And there's a whole story about how the Canadians in the group came because they were also doing research on the Native Americans, etc. So you see, for us, we understand um, the idiosyncrasies of each mind, but that doesn't mean that we, the mediums, do not have discipline. We have our own way of proceeding. It's like a physician that has his own way of performing surgery when he's traveling, participating in other groups, surgical groups. He can perform accordingly, but he can also introduce his way because that's how he performs best. The spiritist framework is certainly to accommodate mediumship universally, right? So Brianna is saying that in her case, the message was for a son of a king, a prince according to them that is not doing his duty. Mamma mia. So better deliver the message, right, Rihanna? Sooner than later. Then Andra Luiz explains to us that certainly there is no lack of honorable attire to spirits who emancipated themselves from the physical vessel. The clothing is made with care and affection by proficient and noble hands from the extra-physical sphere. There is a form of preparation for it. Exactly. That's beautiful and it makes sense. Hmm? Because that's how it is also in the physical. Now, one of the most important parts of this chapter is in this light. However, it is important to consider that the discarnate spirits, even the lower class ones, possess the ability to externalize plasticizing fluids that are peculiar to them, similar to mental agglutinins with which they involve the incarnate mediumistic mind. Okay, pause for a second. Before we break it down, what is this agglutinin? In the physical body, agglutinins are proteins that have the ability to clump up, okay, red blood cells. Mhm. So, creating clusters. So in this case here, he's saying that no matter the level, we have the ability to manipulate these energies that we call fluids and create our clothing or our apparatuses. Exactly. We can do that. In the Medium's book by Allan Kardec, we see spirits presenting themselves like smoking a pipe, etc. So, how does that happen? It's in the mind and it manipulates the energy fields that we call fluids to create the apparatuses that we're going to see. Okay? Let me pause for a second. Our friend Jailton has a question. How were you able to understand the chief if you could not speak the language you said he was? You know, Jailton, as far as I remember, um, the spirits who guide us, they are always around because we are always asking for their help. They were translating for us. Uh-huh. Sometimes it's mind to mind. Other times, the good spirits translate for us. Okay? But I recall in that case that we could understand each other mind to mind. Okay? So it varies. It varies on a case by case basis. Okay? Now, thank you, Jailton, for asking. So here we have Andre Luiz again talking about the power of our minds, like Kardec in the book Genesis, talking about the photography of the thought, talking about how our thoughts and will manipulate the universal cosmic fluid to generate thought forms, and according to the intensity, the frequency of our thoughts, we condense and saturate the very spiritual molecules of our spiritual body, materializing those thoughts and feelings. And it's no different for the discarnate spirits. Okay? Through such resources, says André Luiz, the discarnate spirits shape, as much as they can, the images that they desire to express, which are captured by the medium's perception with color and movement, as if you were watching a TV, making themselves express or act in a behavior similar to the common passive behavior during an induced hypnosis. Now, this is interesting. Some people have a hard time understanding and believing in it because we think too much of the daily life. But here's a recommendation. Study the books by Andrea Luisa. Exactly. Study the series Non Solar, Messengers, Missionaries of the Light, Between Heaven and Earth, um, Workers of the Life Eternal, Liberation, Evolution into Worlds, and life goes on. And you're going to see Andre Luis teaching us about who we are. We can visualize ourselves in the stories that he portrays to us, that he reports to us, and make this exchange between two worlds natural. If you go to the Medium's book, let me pick it up. Okay, Medium's book. Kardec, in the very first chapters, he says to us, clearly, he says, chapter 2, extraordinary and the supernatural. And he says that these spirits, that these phenomena are natural. They are not supernatural. They are not extraordinary. And he says, this is the Medium's book by Kardec, chapter 2, published in 1861. Okay? Almost 100 years before, less than 100, but almost 100 years before the book Evolution into Worlds. And he says, thought is one of the attributes of the spirit. The possibility of a spirit acting upon matter, of it impressing our senses, and therefore of transmitting its thought to us, is a consequence of its own physiological constitution. Hence, there is nothing supernatural or extraordinary about this fact. However, the idea that a person who is absolutely dead could be corporeally resuscitated, that his or her scattered remains could be rejoined to reestablish a body, well, that would be extraordinary, supernatural, and fantastic indeed, and would certainly be a true derogation that God could only accomplish through a miracle. There is nothing like that in the spiritist doctrine, however. You see? Hello, my friend Marco. Hello, hello, partner in this study. So, Andre Luiz and Kardec are working together. And I say, also philosophically speaking, because Andre Luiz, a little less than 100 years later after the Medium's book, he writes Evolution into Worlds and does not defeat any of the ideas. On the contrary, he reinforces, saying, of course the spirits can take the shape that they need to impress our senses. Yes, they can. They can, for sure. They can, and they do. Uh-huh. And he says the following to us, that there is, when asked about, clothing, footwear, for example, let me show you this slide here. Andre Luiz says to us, how should we interpret the existence of clothing, footwear, prosthetic pieces in discarnate entities, if such fitting equipment are inanimate, not being directed in a straightforward way by the mind? And then the answer comes in two pieces. The mind does not command the cotton molecules from the clothing of which it serves in the physical body, but it can wear them according to its needs in the world. The same happens in the spiritual plane, where we make use of the possibilities at our reach to attend to this or that demand regarding our presentation. Well, what is he saying? Friends, let's think together. We need the foundation here. I am a spirit living on earth, right? I am a spirit vibrating. I have a spiritual body that composes, that envelops me as a spirit, clothing myself. This spiritual body responds to my mental commands, conscious or unconscious. And then when I am incarnated, I have another dimension that is added, the physical body. connected to the spiritual body, molecule by molecule. What does that mean? As much as I can impress movement, I as a spirit, through the perispirit, connected to the physical body, with vitality, ectoplasm, I can impress movement, shape, and form. The discarnates can do the same. It's not a big deal. And it may happen more often than we imagine. We're not paying attention. You know why? Because we're paying attention to our cell phones, to computers. People sometimes ask me, but Vanessa, what has happened to physical phenomena, spiritual phenomena, mediumistic phenomena? Well, they still happen, but they happened less than in previous years and centuries. No, 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 no. They don't. Now we're more distracted and less attentive to the phenomena because we are multitasking 10,000 things. Back then, people didn't have TV. They didn't have cell phone. They were more mindful in many ways in the present, paying more attention. Hmm? But as a medium, I can tell you, it's striking the movement of the spiritual realm. It's really crowded and active, always active. So it's up to us to pay attention to this natural exchange between our worlds, or we're still gonna doubt it. So Andre Luiz, in our lesson today, he brings to us time and again the lesson of the power of the mind. Homework for us, shall we? In the next 24 hours, let's do the following homework. Pay attention. Pay attention to how your guardian angel, your protecting spirit, may be presenting him or herself to you and you're not noticing. Pay attention. Because they are going to present themselves to you in ways that will make it easier for you to recognize if and only if you focus on that. So say a prayer in the next 24 hours and ask your protecting spirit to present him or herself to you in clear ways. Is that a bad question? No. It's an important question. If we are obedient before God, we listen to the voice of God's representative in our lives, the ones that are tutoring us directly, which include our protecting spirits. Right? Why not? Making it more natural, less supernatural, more ordinary, less extraordinary, and accommodating this natural exchange in our daily lives as obedient children before the representatives of God to guide our lives. We need guidance, and they guide us, and we think together with them the guidance that they give to us. Is that a good exercise? Are you excited? Yes, we hope so. We hope in the next 24 hours you rejoice in the company and the presentation of your spirit guides, your protecting spirits, guardian angels, feeling their proximity to you, to your family, doing a God at home meeting, or saying a prayer together. Shall we, friends? Huh? So we pray now that we rejoice in this next 24 hours, preparing ourselves to feel more the presence of this unconditional love of the protecting spirits towards us. So we pray, thanking God for this study that brings us closer to our true essence, our spirit essence. May everyone here connected, dear God, feel it, multiply it wherever we are, and help others all the more. We thank you today and always, and so be it. Thank you, Rihanna. Thank you, friends. And until tomorrow, when we're going to study another chapter, Justice in the Spiritual Realm. Ooh la la, what is that going to be? Come back and let's find out together with Andrea Luiz in Evolution in Two Worlds here at Kardec Radio, nourishing our souls every day.